Hello, I'm Mark Beck.
And I'm Stephanie Thompson, and we're coming to you from Remax Glacier Country in Sunset Plaza.
And this is Selling Montana, a podcast about entrepreneurship, business, and real estate here in Montana. And we have a business owner, a heck of an entrepreneur,
Sounds like
all of the above, really. Brenden Lee with Xtreme Carpet Cleaning.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, of course. Brenden, you and I have known each other for a while, and I've used you for some mold remediation and some nasty attics before. So
Right, that's what we do.
That's your favorite?
All the stuff people don't like doing. So, yeah.
That's what pays the best, the stuff that people don't like doing, right?
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, that's fair. You know, it's a pain point, and I think everyone will tend to make a decision that they would rather pay to have it done than go through the pain of trying to do it themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Well, it's hazardous. I mean, we've talked about that before. You got to wear hazmat suits. I mean, you got to pay hazard pay. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. There's a lot there, and especially with a lot of prolonged exposure, or even it's kind of like X-rays. If you get a couple exposures where it's a large dosage, it can also cause some long-term effects.
Sure.
Especially in your lungs and stuff like that. So
Sure. Yeah.
And people don't know what they don't know, right? A lot
Yeah.
of people worked in asbestos mines not knowing really what was actually in the air there. And then 40 years later, studies start coming out correlating,
Yep.
the two.
The long-term study. That's what obviously gets you in the end. And
Yep. And the one interesting thing about mold is we don't have a lot of long-term studies yet. So we're kind of in a weird limbo where there's starting to be regulations and people are starting to notice maybe some immediate adverse effects, but we don't really know the 20, 30, 40 years later kind of conclusion.
Okay.
How similar is it to asbestos? Is it worse? Is it better? Is it a certain type of mold that causes things? So
yeah,
there's a lot there for sure.
Yeah, definitely. You do so much more than just mold remediation and carpet cleaning, though.
True.
You're tell us everything that you do at your company.
Yeah. So we do, we started with carpet cleaning and tile and grout cleaning, and then it led into water damage restoration. And essentially our restoration sector is water, fire, sewer, mold. And we're about to probably start some crawl space encapsulation as well. So
Okay.
How many employees do you have?
So that's
the funny part.
I know that's everybody's problem, but
because we roll pretty lean. So, I'm kind of a hybrid in and out of the field, admin work and in the field. We've got a lead tech. We had a helper in summer, but, it's one of those things where help is so lean right now.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go back to high school. And then we're in the middle of hiring on a second tech that'll be full time, and I'm excited for that because it's a big growth stage in the company, and then we've got our admin. So I guess, but we've been essentially surviving and doing a really good job at it with our on-call help. So when people have days off and stuff like that, we tell them, hey, we'll pay you between $30 and $40 an hour if you come help us, because it keeps the company rolling.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a big on-call help platform. So when we go in for big water jobs and stuff like that, that's a big part of how we do it, because it's more important to have a lot of warm bodies than it is to have, nobody there.
Yeah.
So you only have 2 employees then? Is that?
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
essentially
gosh.
we have crew leads is what we have. And then we have crews that can take care of things. And we have lots of training videos. There's so much there because we want people to know what they're doing. But the important thing is the crew lead is the one able to keep things rolling.
Sure. Right. As long as you have that leader right there, and then he can direct, and you have systems in place that keep everyone on track. So,
and the key word is systems.
Systems.
You have systems.
People they really underappreciate the value of good systems. And that was, when I got into real estate, I was like, wow, there's very few people that have a system in place.
Yeah.
And we created it. And as you know, we have a system at Remax, right?
Yeah.
And not every brokerage has that. Most of them don't. And that's what makes us so efficient.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. It's like, have you guys read E-Myth?
No, I haven't.
Oh man, it's really awesome. It's essentially about how a lot of people think it's going to be so easy, right? Because they see, let's say, a realtor's commission. They're like, hey, I can go sell this house. It'll take 5 minutes, and I'll get 6% or 3% once you split it up, right?
Yeah.
And it's cool because it highlights what it eventually turns into. Where it's you're running around all day, you're doing a lot of work that isn't getting paid, where you're not getting paid for it.
Yeah.
You're doing a lot of admin work, you're doing a lot of things, and before you know it, you start to get spread too thin, doing a bunch of different things, and you can't keep up with it, and you can't hire someone because you don't have any systems in place, and the company is run off your head and your brain, and no one knows what you're thinking.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, checklists start coming into play, and it's a cool book, and it's more for the service industry, But,
but I could see it totally translates to your industry, my industry, our industry. Yeah. The funny thing about real estate is everyone sees 6% commission or whatever, and it's like, well, the only thing that they're watching is they're watching television, right? It's like, well, you're not watching a realtor do their job. You're watching a TV show. Like they're not really doing the real estate job. Like they're making a television show. It's fictional. I mean, that's like saying, I watched Suits. I mean, being a lawyer looks pretty easy. Like looks pretty great. Harvey there, with the whiskey glass or whatever. Like it's TV.
No.
And then you start seeing behind the scenes too, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is what's entailed, So
shoveling dog crap out of a listing. We had a friend that was telling us about that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The things we've done.
Oh yeah.
Cockroaches.
I think everyone has those days, like I explained to you the other day, Mark, about the worst sewer job we've ever done.
Oh yeah.
And the story behind that.
Oh my God.
And I don't know. Is it something we say on air, or just let people use their imaginations, or?
We'll just roll with it, man. I'm easy. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. So this is a story of when we came in and we didn't actually have like a portable flood extractor yet. So it's essentially like a shop vac on steroids that you plug into 2 separate circuit breakers. And then it's powerful suction, and it's really easy to clean and everything like that. But the revenue wasn't there to buy it yet.
Okay.
And so we used a shop vac that had a pump out. So at the bottom, it would pump it through a garden hose. Well, we suck up all this sewer water in the basement, and it's bad. Really, really bad. Couldn't see the floor. So there was like
this was the snow shovel one, right?
Yeah.
They had a snow shovel.
God.
to preface it, I called my buddy who was helping me out at the time, and he's grabbing a couple tools from the shop now that I put eyes on the job. And I'm like, bring the snow shovel. And he's like, I could hear his eyes get wide on the phone. And he went, what? Is that bad? And I was like, yeah, man, it's that bad. Bring the snow shovel and anything we can get to scoop.
Oh my gosh.
And so we suit up, we wear full hazmat suits, PPE is number one, and we suck up all this sewer, and the shop vac part, the hose gets clogged up. I'm like,
that's not a hose you want clogged.
Yeah, because it's pumping water out back into the sewer system. So all of a sudden, there's nowhere for us to put it. And so I detach the hose, and I'm testing the pump to see, is it the hose that I just took off that was clogged, or is it clogged inside the pump? And I put this shop vac, mind you, we're in a bathroom in a basement. And I put the shop vac right up against, like, into the shower, because the shower goes into the sewer. And it was all coated anyway, right?
Yeah.
So we knew we were going to clean it. We knew we were going to have to clean it like crazy. So I turn on the pump, so that it would pump it out, and it would come out, and it would kind of just like, if it worked, it would just flow into the drain. Well, this pump shoots water out faster than I've ever seen, straight to the shower wall. I'm leaning down to turn on the pump. So I'm right there next to it.
Oh my God.
And immediately my respirator face shield just all brown, 100% brown.
my God.
I'm just coated. I am coated in sewer. It was like if you've ever had snow fall off a semi truck and hit your windshield, and all of a sudden you can't see for a split second.
Oh my
And you're
God.
driving, and you're like, oh,
Oh my God.
pure panic. And that's what it was like. It was pure panic.
Brendan, I'm safe to say I don't need to come shadow you ever. I don't need to do a
I'm
ride
good.
along with you.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you got some good employees, man.
Yep. We'll pay you whatever your fee is to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I won't tackle that one on my own.
I've done a lot of stuff for a lot of listings to get it sold, but that is one I can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'll deal with dog crap all day long.
Yeah, I could shovel that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. Of course, next day I went and I put some serious money down on a flood pumper that was a portable flood pumper.
Yeah.
You're like, I found the revenue for it.
Yep. You know, but you know, it's one of those things where I get into jobs like that sometimes, and you have to have a motivator. And like, as you know, I do real estate, quote unquote, on the side.
You're a landlord.
So yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I do, you know, multifamily real estate investing. And when you do jobs like that, you need to have a motivator, because if it's for money, it won't last. The passion won't be there.
Yep.
But if you can like stomach your way through something like getting coated in human feces for a second, not being able to see through it, you're like, real estate down payment. You got to tell yourself something. And that's definitely what was going through my head at that point, because I didn't have any properties to my name. And I was like,
You're
this
like,
is what's going to make the dream
this is
happen.
getting me to the next goal. This is getting me to point B.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
Oh, that's sweet. That's always the mindset. That's the entrepreneurial mindset. Like, that's how you do. If you're like, I'm going to go through this because I know as soon as I get the brown off my visor, it's going to be sweet. So
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. The funny part was I was so into getting that shop vac emptied. Then my buddy was like, oh my God, turn it off. And I was like, no, keep it on. And I was trying to contain the splashing even so that it would actually empty itself with the goal of real estate in mind. So I think it's doing anything to make sure you get to your goals. And if you set your mind to it, you will.
Oh my God.
it's true. It's true.
Oh my gosh.
You just chose a different path than most.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, good for you. So tell us about, let's talk about rentals. I know it's a contentious point right now, especially for local people. You're a landlord. I'm a landlord. I own a property management company with Stephanie and, of course, Megan, who's not here. How many? Will you share how many units you're up to?
Yeah. Let's see. Well, I know it's 6 properties right now.
Okay. Yep.
You know, 2 of them are triplexes. The other ones are in the works where, let's see, one.
Because you do flips too. You're buying stuff and you're renovating and
One is a flip that's under contract. So out of those 6, 2 triplexes. One's a flip that's under contract. One is a place where I'll end up doing a tiny home development, and we're shooting for like 26
Okay.
on that. And
26 tiny homes?
26 tiny homes.
Wow.
The other one is we're shooting for 5 to 9 tiny homes. And then the other one is going to be a duplex.
Yeah.
So it's
That's good, you get a nice little portfolio.
Are you
Yeah.
going to rent out the tiny homes, or are you going to sell?
so
Oh,
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Wow.
So
Awesome.
there'll be
That's
rentals.
awesome.
It's just there's a lot of infrastructure and some next level money that has to happen there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just a matter of making it happen.
Totally.
See, and it's funny is the small guys like you and me, like we give something, right? We put something in with this, right? It's not just about profit. Like you're creating a product that's really needed. 26 townhome or tiny homes, like that's a needed thing. I know a lot of people are looking for that level.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, it's always tricky because revenue doesn't equal profit, right? So
Explain
for
that.
instance,
Because not everyone's going to get that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So, for instance, you know, everyone sees a landlord making $1,300 a month, right, on a place. They don't get that, like, really, after everything involved, landlord might make $100 or $200
Yep.
that month.
Yeah.
And so, there's so much that goes into it. And everyone thinks it's just the mortgage. It's not.
Yeah, no.
If you ever want to go on Bigger Pockets, right? Bigger Pockets.
I listen to that all the time. I love it. Yeah.
Yep. That was where most of my education came from for this, was 300 episodes of Bigger Pockets. And Bigger Pockets real estate specifically. Yep. And you can do a rental home calculator. And once it asks you for the things that you don't actually think about, which is everyone thinks about your mortgage. Then some people think about the taxes. And then less people think about the water and the garbage that happens. And then capital expenditures. No one accounts for the fact that every 5 years something happens. It's a roof, it's an HVAC system, it's something.
Yeah.
And Bigger Pockets accounts for that in the rental calculator. So you can see that, hey, after everything, you're going to make $100 to $200 a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but that's
and is $100 to $200 a month worth the stress, right? That's the key
typically
word.
No.
Typically it's not.
That's why everyone's VRBOing.
It was one of my first rental property. I was making $115 a month after all said and done. And that was the most frustrating realization. And I'm like, I mean, I'm carrying all the liability. I've got 20% down into this property.
Yeah.
I've got all the risk. And if anything breaks, I'm on the hook.
Uh-huh.
And for $100 a month. So if I'm really just crossing my fingers that nothing breaks, nothing goes wrong, because then I'm upside down in my quote unquote investment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And what if you have to evict someone?
That can turn into a lengthy, nightmarish process. And now you have attorney's fees and you have sheriff.
You're paying the rent.
You're paying the mortgage. They're not paying the rent anymore.
Yeah.
So you're carrying that. Yeah. It's a
lot.
It's a lot. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, what, $1,200 to $4,000 for attorney's fees, typically, depending on how far everything goes.
It could be up to $4,000 to get somebody out of your house.
And you're missing the rent in the meantime. So if you don't have that capital set aside for your mortgage payment, you're hosed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why tenant screening is so important. It's literally one of the most important jobs of, and doing a walkthrough and checking in on them regularly and making sure that they're not becoming a problem.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people interview great, right? I mean, I can usually figure out if I like someone or not in 15 minutes. That's kind of my joke. It's like if I'm spending more than 15 minutes with you, then I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
But so let's talk about investment affordability. Is rent affordable, Brenden?
Okay, so I did some homework before this podcast so that hopefully
I know I see
could
numbers over there.
bring a couple things to light. Because I think we hear over and over it's not affordable, right?
Yeah, there's no affordable housing in here in Montana anymore.
Yeah.
That's what this.
The realistic part, and feel free to correct me while we go through this if you have any questions.
Okay.
So, all right, let's take, for example, can a normal working class person afford to live in Kalispell, Montana? That's what I wanted to figure out with these calculations. And the real answer is it depends. The conclusion is more than likely, if you have a roommate, it's very affordable.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, right, is we see signs all over that say hiring $18 an hour. Is that fair?
That's a fair statement.
That's a very fair statement.
For even fast food, right?
Walgreens, fast food. Yeah.
So working class job here is going to probably be $18 an hour plus. There might be some outliers and some lower and maybe even some higher ones, right? But if you make $18 an hour times 2,080 hours in the year, so that's how many hours if you work a 40-hour week. That means you make about $37,000 a year, $37,500. And if you multiply that by 30%, because typically 30% of your gross income before taxes can be paid out to rent, and it keeps it so that you're not broke at the end of the month.
Yep.
So
if you go over 30%, you're considered house poor is what kind of the statement would be.
Yep. So if we take 30%, which is on the brink, right?
Yep. And that's because that's of gross income, so before taxes, right?
Correct. And so that comes out to $11,200 for the year is what you can have to pay rent. which per month is $936.
Yep. Almost
So
$1,000.
we tell ourselves, all right, can you find a 1-bedroom for $936? The answer is no. I think that's
Yeah,
fair.
no,
Yeah.
yeah, 1,200 usually
But
ish.
you can definitely find a roommate.
You can find a 2-bedroom.
I know a lot of married couples too with a roommate right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So-
it is what it is.
Even if, let's say, if you're married, you can rent a place that comes out to $872 a month. Or sorry, my bad. $1,872
Right. 18.
a
Yeah.
month.
Yep.
So now you can afford a 2-bedroom place if it's just you and a roommate who's not, let's say, your significant other. If you have a significant other, there you go. You have a roommate. So $1,800 a month, $1,870 per month. You can typically find a 2-bedroom place around here for that.
Yeah.
But I feel like the age of roommates, there's a lot of people that don't have roommates, and then they complain that they can't actually afford anything.
Yeah. I feel as if it's an antiquated idea of like if you're husband and wife doesn't work, wife stays at home kind of concept. Like that's been gone for so many decades now.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's just now caught up to the Flathead Valley. And the idea of, like single guy, like why wouldn't you have a roommate? Like why wouldn't you? I mean, to me, that's just a smart business decision. Are you using all 3 bedrooms in that house? No, like rent one out, like sublease it, get permission from your landlord. They're probably going to go for it if it's a decent roommate. And if your landlord won't go for your roommate, then you don't want him either.
Yeah. And if it helps you be consistent with your rent, why wouldn't your landlord?
Yeah, exactly. As long as he's not a criminal and has decent finances in order.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And it's one of those things. There's always outliers, right? And I figured someone might ask, well, hey, maybe I am a single person, right? Maybe even I can see, like, let's say a single person. I'm going to throw this out there. Single mom, right?
Yep.
Who is like, hey, well, I maybe I need a place all to myself, right? And I feel like that happens for sure.
Sure. Yep.
Because it's probably hard to find a roommate if you're a single mom.
Yeah. That wants to have kids in the house and stuff. Yeah.
And I think the answer there, so what I came up with is, like, let's say a 1-bedroom place, $1,300 a month. Does that sound about right for what we're seeing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what I went and I did the math with the 30% rule and what it is for 12 months of that. And it just means you need to make about $52,000 a year, which is $25 an hour. I think it's pretty fair to say that a lot of the tradespeople right now are making that pretty easily.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
plumbers, electricians, HVAC, man or woman in that industry, you can go find a trade and make $25 an hour. And so if you're even, let's say, a single parent who's trying to do that, it makes it where we keep hearing that it's not affordable, but I feel like there's a way to make it affordable. And part of it's maybe have a roommate or gain the skills to be paid more, like make yourself more valuable to someone else.
Yeah.
And they're going to reward you.
First step is, one, putting your income on paper like that. You've done that. You know how many people that are making $18 an hour, $25 an hour that have never sat down and put their income on a budget, and then they wonder why they don't have any money at the end of the month.
Yeah.
They don't even know where their own money's going, right?
Free apps like Mint can track that.
This thing, this stuff all exists. It's not hard to do.
Yeah. And I mean, even with the roommate thing, I know that sometimes you can have a bad roommate and stuff like that. But I mean, heck, I had roommates long after I really needed one. Mm-hmm. Like when I bought my house, I knew I couldn't afford the payment on my own. I knew that for a fact. And then all of a sudden, I had a roommate, and then it started to become easier and easier to afford it. And then it ended up just being me and my buddy who were living there, one of my best buddies in town. And it was awesome because, like, most of our hobbies we do together. So, like, power sports, he was like, cool, I don't have to drive into town anymore. And he was paying me, like, going rate was probably $800, $900 a month, and I was charging him $600. Because I was like, well, it's cool living with your best friend. And for riding motorcycles and stuff, they're both out there in the garage.
It's one of my favorite sayings. best person to pay your mortgage is someone else.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, $600 won't pay your mortgage, but
Yeah.
Hey,
it'll help you come up with that extra. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Totally.
helps because at least when I bought a house, my mortgage and everything was like $1,300 a month
Yeah.
or so.
So that was like half. It helped.
Yeah. And it's everything's at a different point now.
Oh yeah.
But,
Totally.
But hey, roommates, whether you buy a place or you're renting, it's still a thing. Like it'll still
Yeah.
make it affordable. And I didn't do the math on if you buy a place because everything's so volatile right now,
Yeah.
and it's hard to actually pin down what a home is actually like. Going
yeah.
for.
What's it
Yeah.
actually going to sell for? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going through the same problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's a guessing game now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's make a cut here real quick. So it's definitely there's a way to make renting affordable, right? You can stay in the valley. You just have to be a little more creative and I don't want to say not be selfish, but just like it's okay if you like live with a friend or something like that. Like that's okay. And then like you said, gain the skills. Like, I don't know. I didn't always, I remember when I made $16 an hour and $18 an hour, like, and I gained skills to do that. I was a professional welder. Like I had a degree in welding and I worked 50 hours a week, plus. And, like I wasn't in business for myself. I just had to get to the job site every day at 7 a.m. and made sure everything I welded up together stayed together and didn't break, right? Like that was the key to earning that high, and that was a pretty good wage.
Die.
And to not be killed. Yes. After same job, I had the same crane operator almost killed me twice in a month. Yes, they finally fired him. So she's not joking about that.
Yeah,
That's for the real deal.
Yeah.
Commercial construction is like the third most dangerous job in the world. Yeah, it's no joke. But you can make great money at it.
That's what I went to school for, actually.
That's right. You went to engineering school though, right?
Yeah. I've got my engineering degree. I did a little bit of geotech and testing and stuff then, but I mean mostly what the degree is based around is commercial and heavy civil project management or ownership. And
it was more fun doing basement remediation or better pay.
There's
gosh.
There's some days I wonder if I picked the right thing, but I think the big thing is it's rewarding in certain ways, and it is better pay. But you know what? A lot of things, it's not like I made all the money in the restoration sector,
right?
To fund real estate. It's, I started plugging it, putting it away into Microsoft early on in 2015, 2016.
Bought stocks.
And then I watched that grow, and it was cool because I'm really glad I did that, because on the first day I did it, it happened to jump a lot.
Wow.
And it made like $700 in a day
Okay.
on like $3,000 worth of an investment. So that was my first oh, cool, I'm putting some in the savings. And it jumped that much. And I went, oh my gosh.
You're like, why am I not doing this?
Yeah. So, and unreal expectations, where it's not realistic to have that every time.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that I got that lesson on the first day, because I was like, oh my gosh, I just made like 4 times as much as I do in my day job. Like at the time, being an engineer, made that in like one day. And things go up and down as it happens, but Microsoft went up for a lot, 5, 6, 7 years and all in a row.
I got a feeling it's going to be a really good time to buy again here in a little while.
It's true.
I feel like stock prices are at a bargain right now. I mean, I've been a Tesla shareholder since 2017, 2016.
Okay.
So I've
seen what that's done.
I've seen what it's done.
Yeah. That's cool.
And the worst mistake I've ever made was selling that stock. Selling any of it ever.
Oh no, you sold it?
Not everything. No, I didn't sell my whole portfolio, but I've sold some of it, and I was like, just looking back, it's like, oh man, if you'd held on to every Microsoft share and rode it to the peak, like where would you have been, right? Like if you never got out of it. So
I think trying to predict those peaks and valleys,
it's impossible. Impossible.
Yeah.
You can't time the market. So just stay in it and keep time in it.
Yeah. And feel free to take some out.
Yeah, when you need
have
to.
Some retained earnings.
Yeah. Take some You're right. Like sell that initial investment, get the $3,000 out, and now you don't go broke making a profit.
No,
Yeah.
it's true.
Exactly. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else that you want to add to that?
No, not necessarily. I think it's just, if anyone has any water damage needs, water, fire, sewer, mold, carpet cleaning and tile and grout cleaning, that's what we do. And, I'm always looking for real estate deals as well.
Okay. Yeah.
So, anything multifamily that tends to be pretty run down. If you walk in there and it smells really gross, smells like drugs, smoke.
Yep. You're the guy to call and you'll come save it.
And yeah, we go in and we make it better.
See, but that's such a great thing because like we don't need to tear those down. You can save those and they're more affordable if you save them.
Yeah. Totally.
Yep.
Definitely. And it's always cool to see before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Totally.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Brenden. It's a real pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah.
And,
thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know we sure learned a lot. So.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for viewing. If you would please share, like, subscribe, get this out. We'd love to expand our audience.